Hi, it's Katrina. Drones can capture footage and images of things that would be impossible for us to see otherwise. Today, I'll be exploring some of these amazing discoveries made by drones, from an impossible structure in the Grand Canyon to a long-lost plane wreck and even a never-before-seen tribe in the Amazon. Don't go anywhere because you won't want to miss this. The Cave of the Mouth. There's a chilling cave in Mexico called the Cave of the Mouth. Maybe because it swallows people whole. The Cave of the Mouth is cut into a sheer rock cliff and surrounded by jungle. It once used to be a mine notorious for accidents where the earth would crumble and crush the workers underneath. The cave system is surrounded by legend. And did I mention it is also filled with bats? The most famous story is about Agapito Treviño, a notorious bandit from the 19th century. He considered himself to be the Robin Hood of Monterrey and loved to terrorize the wealthy. He would ride on a white horse carrying a harmonica. When he attacked them, he would force them to dance while he played and then tied them up. He would give away coins to the poor and became very beloved, but he didn't give everything away. The legend goes that he would keep all the diamonds, emeralds, and gold and would stash it away deep in the tunnels of the Cave of the Mouth. So if you ever feel like going on a treasure hunt, this could be the place to start. But fair warning, if you're claustrophobic, don't even think about exploring this cave. It is full of dark, tight spaces. Now the place is home to millions of bats. Batman would feel right at home here, protected by these creatures. How do you feel about bats? Super creepy or no problem? This cave isn't just dark and mysterious. It's a buzzing hub of natural wonder. Many people might be terrified of bats thanks to stories of vampires and, of course, diseases. But in reality, these bats are superstars in the ecosystem. The cave has become a sanctuary for over 5 million bats, representing more than 6 different species. These little nocturnal creatures may not win any popularity contests, but they play a crucial role in keeping the ecosystem balanced. They are essentially silent guardians of the night, swooping through the air and controlling insect populations. Would you dare enter this cave? Let us know in the comments. The Forbidden Zone. Have you ever heard of the Forbidden Zone of the Grand Canyon? Most people haven't. I mean, thousands of people visit Grand Canyon National Park every year and never hear a peep about a prohibited area. But it's very real. Listen to this story and let me know your thoughts in the comments. In August 2024, a group of friends visited the Grand Canyon to get some footage for a YouTube video. They brought a drone with them, and while they were flying it, something caught their eye. In the distance, the drone captured what looked like a massive structure built into the side of the canyon. It seemed to be ancient, possibly thousands of years old. But then, out of nowhere, the drone was shot out of the air. That's when the men realized the drone had ventured into this restricted area. The story didn't end there. The friends wanted to explore this mysterious structure for themselves. So they waited until nightfall. They snuck over the fence, blocking off the Forbidden Zone. They walked for hours until finally they saw it in the distance. The huge building was clearly ancient, carved into the stone of the mountain. Near the structure's entrance, the men found massive statues depicting some sort of creature they had never seen before. And just a few moments later, they began to hear strange sounds emerging from inside. What do you think they found? You'll never guess in a million years. According to the story, they found a vast forest within the mountain structure. And that's not all. Wandering through this secret forest were creatures that are supposed to be extinct. Yep, they claim to see dinosaurs. Pterodactyls were flying above them, velociraptors were roaming the ground. But then some of the dinosaurs took notice of the men and began running towards them. Luckily, there was an electric fence inside the structure that prevented the velociraptors from reaching them. Terrified, the group of friends got the heck out of there, and once they reached safety, they shared their story on TikTok. What do you think about all this? Is there any truth to their story? It reminds me of the famous story published by the Arizona Gazette in 1909. It was about G.E. Kincaid, an explorer who claimed to be working for the Smithsonian Institute. He told reporters that he and his travel companion, S.A. Jordan, a Smithsonian scientist, found something very surprising in the Grand Canyon. They discovered what they described as a labyrinthian honeycomb of man-made tunnels, or caves, filled to the brim with treasure. But this wasn't just pots and coins. What they found was a hoard of ancient Egyptian and Hindu statues, artifacts, golden urns, and even mummies. But why in the world would there be Egyptian and Hindu artifacts stored in a cave in Arizona? There doesn't seem to be a logical explanation, and that's why many skeptics consider this story to be nothing more than a piece of sensational journalism. Kincaid said they were never able to find the cave entrance again. The Smithsonian has come out to publicly deny Kincaid's account of events, going as far as to say that neither Kincaid or S.A. Jordan ever existed, or at least they claim that neither man had ever been employed by the Institute. What's even more strange is that the Arizona Gazette seems to be the only newspaper to publish this incredible tale. According to some, the whole thing's an elaborate cover-up. They say that within the Grand Canyon exists an area that is off-limits to visitors, known as the Forbidden Zone, where secrets of the past are hidden by the government so we don't find out the truth. I'm not sure what that is, but it usually has something to do with aliens. So, does this Forbidden Zone actually exist? Sort of, but it may not be what conspiracy theorists believe it to be. In 1990, there was an area of the Grand Canyon that was fenced off and is now restricted. This was done by the National Park Service, not to hide a forbidden history of Egyptians in Arizona, but to protect an endangered plant species called century milkvetch. So, what are your thoughts on the Forbidden Zone? Military? Secret cover-up? Or just protected so people don't walk all over the plants? And now for a quick break, but first, it's shout-out time! I want to give a huge thank you to Joaquin Morro for the generous super thanks. We couldn't do it without you! If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to join the Origins Explained family. The Irish henge. Thanks to a 40-day drought and a drone, archaeologists made a new discovery at a UNESCO World Heritage Site that they thought they knew everything about. Bruna Bonnier, with its ancient burial mounds and mystical history, was believed to have no secrets left to hide. But then, photographer Anthony Murphy decided to take to the skies with his trusty camera drone, and what he found was nothing short of extraordinary. The Irish countryside was parched from an unprecedented drought, the kind of dry spell that makes archaeologists drool. Why? Because when the soil gets this dry, ancient structures buried for millennia start to show themselves. And that's precisely what happened. What exactly did Murphy discover? Flying his drone over a seemingly ordinary field, 30 miles north of Dublin, Murphy spotted something remarkable: the distinct outline of a 5,000-year-old henge. A henge, for those not up to date on their prehistoric lingo, is an ancient enclosure that is typically made of stone or wood. They were used by our ancestors as gathering places for who knows what: rituals, feasts, meetings, all of the above. Luckily, Murphy was quick to realize the significance of his find. The drone's footage revealed a circular pattern on the ground, a whopping 492 feet wide. That's big enough to hold a few thousand people at once. And what's more is that this wasn't just any old henge. It was a henge that is hidden from archaeologists for decades, if not centuries. The drought played a crucial role in making this discovery possible. According to experts, soil that once supported heavy objects, like the stones or timbers of a henge, retains more water than the surrounding ground. When the land is dry, these patches stick out like a sore thumb. Thanks to the lack of rain, combined with some high-flying technology, a long-lost piece of history re-emerged. For Murphy, who had been studying this landscape for 20 years without finding anything groundbreaking, this was a dream come true. He even shared the footage with the world, making this once-in-a-lifetime discovery available to everyone. Lost in the Great Blue Hole. Have you ever heard of a graveyard 300 feet underwater? That's exactly what divers encountered in the Great Blue Hole, a massive underwater sinkhole off the coast of Belize. Originally a cave, it was flooded by rising sea levels millennia ago, creating a natural wonder that is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Jacques Cousteau, the famous ocean explorer, put the Great Blue Hole on the map. It has been a magnet for adventurers ever since. But be warned, this is not any ordinary dive spot. The Great Blue Hole contains secrets that might just send a chill down your spine. In December 2018, an expedition team equipped with submarines and an underwater drone ventured deep into the Great Blue Hole. They captured footage that reveals two very different worlds. At first, the dive revealed a vibrant marine ecosystem with coral reefs teeming with colorful fish, a testament to the thriving ecosystem. But then, as they passed 300 feet, an ominous layer of hydrogen sulfide appeared, and everything changed. Below this toxic layer, the world was undeniably different. The bustling aquatic life disappeared, replaced by an eerie dark graveyard, and not just for marine life. The expedition made a chilling discovery: the bodies of 2 divers, lost forever in the blue hole's depths. They weren't alone. A lost GoPro and scattered plastic served as grim reminders of how unforgiving the ocean can be. But it wasn't just the sight of the lifeless depths that was so unsettling. The expedition also uncovered layers of silt at the bottom of the hole. This might not sound exciting at first, but these sediments hold clues to major historical events. They point to ancient droughts and storms that could potentially be linked to the collapse of the Maya civilization. Knowing the dangers and mysteries that lurk below, would you even consider diving into the Great Blue Hole? Let me know in the comments. Drone to the rescue. In July of 2018, a drone pulled off a dramatic rescue on one of the world's highest peaks, saving a climber who everyone thought had died. Rick Allen, a seasoned Scottish mountaineer, had gone missing while descending Broad Peak, the 12th highest mountain in the world. The mountain stands at a staggering 26,401 feet in the Himalayas of Nepal. Rick's fellow climbers had given up hope after he had fallen from an ice cliff during his descent. Even his longtime climbing partner, Sandy Allen, believed the worst. She had convinced herself that Rick had died on the unforgiving slopes. But fate had other plans. About 36 hours after Rick vanished, a Japanese cook at the base camp spotted something unusual: a rucksack on the mountainside. Could it be Rick's? So with a flicker of hope, the camp turned to the most unlikely of heroes: a drone. The drone belonged to 2 Polish brothers, Bartek and Andrzej Bardziel. These thrill-seekers were in the Himalayas with a mission of their own. They wanted to conquer the mighty K2, the 2nd tallest mountain in the world, and ski down it, capturing their adventure on film. But little did they know that their drone would soon switch roles from filmmaker to lifesaver. The brothers flew their drone up Broad Peak, scanning the slopes for any signs of life. And there it was. Their camera picked up the image of an injured Rick Allen sheltering on the mountainside. He was visibly battered, but he was alive. Using the drone's live feed, Bartek and Andrzej guided Sherpas and climbers to the stranded mountaineer, who was suffering from cuts and frostbite. Back at base camp, Rick was airlifted to safety and treated for his injuries. After everything, he admitted that he once found drones annoying, but this experience changed everything. The drone had not only saved his life, but also restored hope among his friends who had feared the worst. Even Sandy, his best climbing pal, marveled at Allen's resilience and the sheer luck that led to his rescue. The duo had conquered many peaks together, but this time it was technology and a little bit of luck that helped Rick survive one of the most dangerous situations of his life. Would you be able to challenge your own limits and go climbing in the Himalayas? Let me know in the comments. Isolated Amazon tribe. A drone soaring over the dense Brazilian jungle captured something extraordinary in August of 2018. An Amazonian tribe that had never been seen before. Imagine a world untouched by time, a group of people who have lived their entire lives without any contact with the outside world, completely unaware that they just became internet famous. The drone, operated by Brazil's National Indian Foundation, FUNAI, recorded footage of several individuals walking through a wide clearing in the Javari River Valley near the border with Peru. One person was carrying a spear, while others stood near what appeared to be thatched structures. The tribe seemed blissfully unaware of the drone buzzing above them like some mechanical mosquito. FUNAI, which is dedicated to protecting indigenous tribes in the Brazilian Amazon, has a long history of advocating for these isolated groups. Founded in 1910 by Brazilian marshal and explorer Cândido Rondon, FUNAI operates under a guiding philosophy of peaceful interaction. What is this philosophy? Die if necessary, but never kill. This means that even in the face of danger or adversity, the goal should be to preserve life, not take it. In other words, it prioritizes non-violence and seeks to resolve conflicts without resorting to lethal force, which was often the case in the past. This particular discovery was no small feat. Hunay's team traveled over 112 miles by boat, truck, and motorcycle, followed by a grueling 75-mile trek through the jungle. The Javari River region, where this tribe was spotted, is known to be home to 8 contacted tribes and 11 confirmed isolated ones. This makes it one of the most noteworthy regions for uncontacted indigenous peoples in the world. While the temptation to reach out might be strong, experts now agree that making contact with these tribes isn't always a good idea. Past attempts have often led to devastating consequences, including the spread of diseases. The story of the Yanomami tribe, who suffered a measles outbreak due to a little bit of exposure to modern healthcare, is a tragic example of the risks involved. These tribes, like the one captured on the drone footage, have thrived in isolation, maintaining their traditional ways of life. For them, the outside world is an alien concept and may seem quite content keeping it that way. What would you do if you found someone in the jungle? Hide? Say hello? Let me know in the comments. The mysterious mountain door. The internet was buzzing with excitement recently when the Crazy Abandoned Places Facebook page posted a photo that sent thrill seekers into a frenzy. The image showed what looked like a mysterious door on the side of a rugged mountain. The caption claimed that a drone pilot spotted the door and then later went to explore what was inside. Naturally, the post caught everyone's imagination. I mean, what could possibly be behind that door? Lost treasure, an ancient civilization, Bigfoot's vacation home? The story goes that drone enthusiast John stumbled upon the strange door while flying his drone exploring the Rocky Mountains. Fueled by curiosity and probably some action-adventure movies, John decided to ditch the drone and climb the mountain himself. But the journey wasn't exactly smooth sailing. After losing his flashlight and getting attacked by an eagle, John finally reached the door. It's not a good story if there aren't any challenges. Inside, he reportedly found mysterious markings that hinted at a long-lost civilization. Then, after being rescued and doing some research, John was supposedly given an award for his incredible discovery. Sounds like the plot of the next Indiana Jones movie, right? Sure does. It sounds a little too good to be true. And sadly, that's because it is. As it turns out, the truth is much more simple. This is a classic example of what's known as glurge. Glurge is a term for made-up stories that are too good to be true that float around the internet, designed to tug at your heartstrings or make you believe in the impossible. The door in question was actually a real-world historical artifact. It's actually a tomb from the 2nd century BC, located in the Turkish province of Korum. The tomb, known as the Lasin Kapilikaya rock tomb, was carved into a rocky hillside during the Hellenistic period and features an inscription that reads, Ikesios. This place is already quite mysterious on its own. It is so old that its secrets have been lost and nobody knows what Ikesios means. Any guesses? Mystery disc and metallic orb. In what sounds like it could be straight out of a sci-fi thriller, drones have captured some jaw-dropping footage of UFOs, or as they call them these days, unexplained anomalous phenomena, or UAPs. Imagine soaring above the chaotic battlefield of Ukraine, the drone's camera capturing the relentless exchange of fire. Suddenly, a flicker of light catches your eye. You zoom in, your heart pounding. There, suspended in the sky, a shimmering, disc-shaped object defies gravity. Its origin a complete mystery. This isn't the first time drones have stumbled upon such anomalies. From the war-torn skies of Ukraine to the vast deserts of the Middle East, these unexplained aerial phenomena, or UAPs, have ignited a global debate about extraterrestrial life. This discovery in February 2024 was captured by Ukrainian soldiers conducting reconnaissance with a drone when they spotted something truly out of this world: a disc-shaped UFO hovering in the combat zone. The footage was shared on social media. It shows the soldiers baffled as the mysterious object remained stationary, despite the drone zooming in for a closer look. With Ukraine's Army of Drones initiative, the country has deployed hundreds of drones for defense. But encountering a potential alien spacecraft wasn't exactly in the training manual. Ukraine, however, isn't the only place where drones have had close encounters with the unknown. Over in the Middle East, the US military's MQ-9 Reaper drone spotted what was described as a metallic orb during a routine mission in 2022. This bright, shimmering orb, dubbed a spherical UAP, seemed to follow the drone. It exhibited speed and design that defied human engineering. This encounter marked the first time a military drone publicly spotted a UAP. But was it just advanced technology from another country, another mission, or something else entirely? The Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, led by Sean M. Kirkpatrick, has been on the front lines of investigating these UAP sightings. Kirkpatrick testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee, explaining that UAPs typically appear as small, silver, or metallic objects. He said they zoom around at altitudes between 10,000 and 30,000 feet with no visible exhaust. This is important because without exhaust of any kind, the military has no idea what kind of fuel these things are using. Kirkpatrick acknowledged that while many UAPs can be explained as advanced foreign technology or natural phenomena, there are still some that remain a mystery. And it is these unexplained sightings that make us ask, are we alone in the universe? Vermont plane crash mystery. In an epic underwater adventure, a 53-year-old mystery was finally solved, bringing closure to 5 grieving families. Imagine living in a constant state of uncertainty, haunted by the memory of a lost loved one. After decades trying to find out what happened, an underwater drone found the remains of a long-lost private jet that vanished in 1971, taking 5 men to their deaths. The underwater drone, armed with high-resolution cameras, descended 200 feet into the lake and captured eerie images of the jet's wreckage. The once sleek aircraft was now a ghostly barnacle-covered relic, with the engines and broken wings scattered across the lake floor. The paint of white with red and black accents confirmed that it was the missing jet, along with its tail number. But the journey to this moment was filled with heartbreak, hope, and relentless determination. The tale of the missing jet began on a cold January evening in 1971, when the plane took off from Burlington, Vermont under less than ideal weather conditions. Light snow, strong winds, and a brutal wind chill of -45 degrees made for a treacherous flight. The co-pilot, Donald Myers, was just 2 weeks away from starting his dream job with Delta Airlines, making this one of his final flights on the executive jet, but fate had other plans. Minutes after takeoff, the plane vanished from the radar. Eyewitnesses reported a bluish flash and a strange sound over the middle of Lake Champlain. But despite extensive search efforts, including high-tech tools like infrared cameras and submarines, the wreckage was never found. Until now. The discovery wouldn't have been possible without help from Gary Kozak, an underwater search expert who had previously hunted for the missing Malaysian Airlines flight in the Indian Ocean. The mystery of the missing Vermont jet had been gnawing at him for years. So, in 2023, he decided to take another shot. Using a high-tech side-scan sonar, Kozak finally spotted an anomaly on the lake bed that turned out to be the missing jet. In May 2024, Kozak led a team to the site and captured the first images of the wreckage in over 5 decades. Out of respect for the victims, Kozak didn't disturb the site, acknowledging it as the final resting place of 5 people. The exact location remains confidential, but the families of the crash victims can now plan a long overdue memorial, bringing at least some peace after years of uncertainty. Lost Florida Island Settlement. On Riley Island off Florida's north coast, a discovery has brought to light the remains of a long-lost settlement. These people once thrived on making beads from the shells of lightning whelks, which are carnivorous sea snails. But this isn't your typical beachcombing find. It's an ancient bead-making operation that dates to between 900 and 1200 AD, and it's all thanks to a drone with laser beams. You heard that right, laser beams. Archaeologists armed with this high-tech drone mapped out a massive complex of 37 oyster shell rings on the island, some standing as tall as 13 feet. Picture a bunch of cloverleaf-shaped clusters made of shell rings, each one likely housing a family of 5 to 8 people. This discovery was like finding a prehistoric neighborhood where everyone's job was to make beads. And not just any beads, but ones that were highly sought after across the Mississippian culture. Okay, so what was it that made these beads so special? By the 9th century, beads made from seashells had become symbols of power and status in large inland cities like Cahokia. At one point, these small coastal communities churned out tens of thousands of shells to meet demand. They worked like prehistoric factories, pumping out the latest fashion accessory. Riley Island was likely at the forefront of this trade, possibly even helping to kickstart the bead economy. While the islanders were busy making beads, they weren't necessarily trading with the big shots like Cahokia. Chiefs in those massive cities usually preferred raw shells to craft their own designs. lines. This allowed them to keep control over the bead-making process, which likely had spiritual significance. So Riley Island's beads might have been traded with smaller towns or even used locally, but the exact trade relationships are still a mystery. 7,000-year-old cave art. 7,000-year-old cave paintings were found hidden in remote mountain shelters in Spain. The discovery was made by researchers from the University of Alicante, thanks to the noble navigation of a drone. That's right, prehistoric art was rediscovered by a flying robot. The team set their sights on 18 caves nestled in the Castellet Barranc del Salt ravine and Forte Penagila. In 2 of these shelters, the drone's camera revealed stunning Neolithic art depicting archers, deer, and goats. Some of these animals appeared to have been struck by arrows, capturing a snapshot of ancient life in vivid detail. This discovery is being hailed as one of the most significant discoveries in recent decades for Spain's Neolithic rock art sites. So how did the drones make this possible? Well, navigating the rugged and inaccessible terrain of these mountain caves would have been a challenge for even the most seasoned hikers. But with drones, the team was able to explore these hard-to-reach places quickly and efficiently. They located the first signs of cave art within days, something that would have taken much longer using traditional methods. Once the initial discovery was made, the team didn't stop there. They carefully examined and enlarged the drone-captured images using Photoshop. This helped bring out the fine details of the ancient paintings. Then, to confirm their findings, climbers scaled the cliffs to verify the presence of these prehistoric masterpieces. Leading this innovative effort was Javier Fernandez Molina, a geoarchaeology researcher and certified drone pilot. He emphasized the importance of drones in archaeological exploration, especially in regions as challenging as the Alicante Mountains. According to Molina, the success of this mission suggests that there could be many more prehistoric artworks waiting to be found in inaccessible areas. Operation Gem Drop. Drones are taking volcano science to new heights. Literally, Boise State's Jerry Mock, a geophysics whiz, recently spearheaded Operation Gem Drop, a project that sounds as cool as it is groundbreaking. The mission? To capture infrasound from Guatemala's Fuego volcano using drones. And this volcano is appropriately named because, boy, is it hot! Infrasound refers to sound waves below the range of human hearing, often produced by explosive volcanoes. These sounds can be so powerful that they rattle windows miles away. Mock and his team at Boise State's Infrasound Lab developed inexpensive infrasound sensors, affectionately called GEMS, to gather data right from the volcano's mouth. Get it? GEMS because Boise is in Idaho, and Idaho is the gem state. The college used a drone, originally designed to help fishermen cast their lines farther, and equipped it with a 3D printed cage to drop the sensors into the danger zone. In February 2024, Mock successfully deployed 2 GEMS, one right on the crater and another nearby. While one sensor was lost to an explosive blast, the other captured critical data during a 5-day mission. Talk about getting up close and personal with Mother Nature. But Mock wasn't there just to play with drones. He also worked with international experts to fly missions that recorded jaw-dropping footage of volcanic eruptions, complete with visible shockwaves and molten rock flying through the air. The team even created 3D reconstructions of Fuego's crater, which helps monitor the volcano's changing landscape over time. Meanwhile, down in Mexico, another drone captured footage of the ever-active Popocatépetl volcano, spewing ash and gas into the air. This volcano, located near Mexico City, has been making headlines since it woke up again in 1994. In May 2023, it caused school closures, airport shutdowns, and widespread concern among the 25 million people living nearby. Authorities even issued a yellow alert, preparing for potential evacuations. With ground cameras and satellites also keeping an eye on Popocatépetl, it's clear that drones have become indispensable tools in understanding and monitoring these fiery giants. Missing Dog's New Family. Let's end this video with a lighthearted story involving 2 of the world's most adorable animals. Anyone with a fur baby would be worried sick if they lost their dog while taking a stroll through the woods. You would start to fear the worst after a while, but thankfully this story has a happy ending thanks to a drone and a friendly family of bears. Heartwarming footage from the Kamchatka Peninsula has recently taken the internet by storm. After their playful husky went missing, the dog's concerned family searched and searched but found no trace of the dog. dog. After exhausting all other options, the family decided to use a drone to search the dense forest near their house. What they found left them stunned. Their beloved dog had made some rather unusual friends, a family of wild bears. The drone footage shows the husky nudging a massive bear as if it was saying, "Hi there, I'm new in town." The bear, apparently just as curious, sniffs the dog and gives a gentle prod with its paw, checking out its new playmate. The scene only gets cuter as the husky starts bouncing around 3 other bears, playfully disrupting their walk through the woods. The bears, despite being dangerous predators, seem completely unfazed by their new companion. In fact, they almost look like they're enjoying the husky's antics. At one point, the pup even gets a game of chase going, sprinting alongside the bears like they're his new pack. You might be thinking, a dog playing with bears? That's just asking for trouble. And usually, you'd be right. According to experts, dogs and bears are typically not best buddies. In fact, bears can be quite defensive if they feel threatened by a dog. But in this case, it seems that the husky's infectious energy won over the big furry giants. The footage of this unlikely friendship quickly went viral, racking up millions of views and thousands of comments on social media, and rightfully so.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
Queen Tiye. Ancient Egyptian Queen Tiye was the wife of Amenhotep III and the grandmother of King Tutankhamun. She was famous in the ancient world for being uncharacteristically strong-willed. She was also famous for her amazing hair. In the words of Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, Queen Tiye had the best hair in ancient Egypt. She reportedly spent a lot of time meticulously caring for her luscious locks, which were still intact thousands of years after her burial. Viewers were shocked to see this in 2021 when her mummy was paraded through the streets on its way from Cairo to its new home at the National Museum of Civilization in Fustat. Even more surprising was the fact that her mummy bore no signs of gray or white hair, despite the ruler having died at the age of 60. Queen Tiye shaved the front portion of her hair, which was a common symbol of power in ancient Egypt. It's believed that she dyed it with henna, which was also a popular practice at the time. When the queen died, the embalmers most likely gave her a fresh dye job. But how did she wash her hair? Before shampoo, ancient people had to use plants that contained natural saponins and mash it up in containers. To protect her hair from the arid climate, Queen Tiye probably used a moisturizer, most likely castor or almond oil, which she would have massaged into her scalp regularly. This made hair easier to style. Ancient Egyptians, just like today, also believed in the power of scalp massages and hair oil to promote growth. Like many other ancient Egyptian women, Tiye also owned several wigs and wore them often as a way to protect her natural hair from the sun and from lice. Hair extensions were also common and were typically either braided into a woman's hair or attached using beeswax and resins. But Queen Tiye's biggest secret to having fantastic hair was animal fat, from everything to crocodiles, hippos, goats, and lions. In some cases, ancient Egyptians boiled animal blood with the fat with the belief that it helped darken grays. It may sound like a repulsive idea in the modern age.
Ancient amputation. Evidence of a brutal amputation has been found in a limestone cave in Indonesia. On the island of Borneo, researchers from Griffith University came across the bones of someone who had been the victim of prehistoric surgery. 31,000 years ago, some Stone Age doctor performed a precision limb amputation on an unfortunate individual. The researchers were shocked to find that the person's remains were missing the left foot and lower leg. But here's the really interesting part. After the scientists examined the remains more closely, they were able to confirm bony growths that had formed during the healing process. The victim of the prehistoric surgery had lived long enough that his wounds healed. And so, even though it's pretty terrifying to think about this person having their leg cut in half in the darkness of a cave, it's also kind of miraculous. The ancient people living in the Borneo cave would have boasted impressive medicinal knowledge. They would have needed to know about the tropical plants they could use as anesthetic and antiseptic. They also would have had ointments to help the wound heal. But most impressive of all is that they had the anatomical knowledge to successfully pull off a full limb amputation. The tomb of the priest. The creepy tomb of a priest from 3,000 years ago has been discovered at an archaeological site in Peru. The site is called Paco Pampa, and the tomb is little more than a shallow pit covered over by a heavy stone. The burial dates back to around 1000 BC, with the priest being around 35 years old when he died. But this was no ordinary priest. He was buried with great care, given treasures to take with him in death, and sealed tightly to prevent grave robbers from getting to him. Researchers believe he may have wielded extraordinary religious power while he was alive. He at least had some level of influence to be buried with such treasures like pututo, wind instruments made from seashells. Unfortunately, it's not exactly clear which culture this priest belonged to because he died about 100 years before the rise of the Chavin culture. That being said, we can only guess that he and his followers had similar gods like the staff deity or the fanged jaguar god. Polish vampire. At a cemetery in Poland, the skeletal remains of a female vampire have just been discovered by archaeologists this summer of 2022. Polish researchers came across the remains of a woman buried with a sickle tucked around her neck and a padlock around her foot. Her remains were found at an ancient gravesite in the village of Pień. Whoever buried her made sure that she would never rise from her grave ever again. If the sickle around the throat wasn't enough, the padlock around her foot would have surely kept her firmly in the ground. At least that's what the 17th century villagers thought. Magdalena Zagrodocka, a representative of the research team, said the woman was discovered wearing a silk headdress woven with gold thread. This has made for quite the mystery because it shows that the woman was of a high social status, and yet the other artifacts found in her grave clearly showed the locals thought she was a vampire. Unfortunately, the experts have no idea who this woman was. She has no identity, so at the moment she's just a nameless vampire who died 400 years ago. The sickle around her throat was, in theory, supposed to cut her head off if she suddenly resurrected and tried to lift herself out of her grave. Ripley's mammoth nipple. Ripley's, believe it or not, has come into the possession of a rather bizarre artifact. They now have on display 2 pieces of a preserved woolly mammoth that lived 49,000 years ago. The pieces of the mammoths were found in Siberia, uncovered in recent years as increased temperatures have caused glaciers to melt. The pieces of tissue were radiocarbon dated and confirmed as real and legitimate by the Kurt Engelhorn Center of Archaeometry. Ripley's now has a mammoth foot on display, as well as a huge piece of flesh with the mammoth's nipple on it. There is nothing overtly terrifying about a mammoth nipple, but it was a strange choice. If most museums could choose which part of the mammoth to keep, they would probably go for the skull and tusks, but Ripley's went in a totally different direction. Perhaps they were hoping to highlight the life of mother mammoths in nursery herds. Tens of thousands of years ago, in the cold and unforgiving tundra of Asia, Europe, and North America, mammoths roamed free. They used their huge tusks to dig through the snow and find buried shrubs and grasses. Mothers gave birth to a single calf at a time. They fed the baby until it developed teeth to feed like a grown-up. Mother mammoths also lived in large herds of about 15 individuals. These moms could live to be 75 years old, whereas male mammoths were typically forced out on their own and only lived to be around 40. Game of bones. In Israel, researchers recently uncovered an ancient game that was played using bones. The game is called astragaloi, and it was a favorite of the Greeks 2,300 years ago. Archaeologists have found examples of the game as far back as the Etruscans and other early civilizations. The gaming pieces are a little disturbing because they were fashioned from ankle or hock bones, normally from goat or sheep. The game was all about seeing into the future. The person playing would have rolled 5 bone pieces. They could roll them all at once or one at a time. It all depended on what the individual thought would give them the best glimpse into the future. Each bone piece was carved with a Greek god or goddess. There was Aphrodite to represent love and beauty, Hera to represent marriage and family, and Nike to represent victory. We can only assume that depending on which god the person rolled, whatever that god represented would be incorporated into the player's future. If they rolled an Aphrodite, they would be in store for some love. If they rolled Hades, death would surely be coming for them. But not all the rules to the game are clear. Some of the pieces have bizarre inscriptions on them. One says robber and another says you are burnt. This almost feels like an Uno situation, where perhaps another player is the robber and able to steal another's fortune for themselves. Would you want to play this game? Let me know in the comments below. Animal slaughter. The Tartessos civilization lived in the southwest of Spain before the Roman Empire ever existed. And while there is very little known about this ancient civilization other than they mysteriously collapsed, researchers have made some recent headway. At an ancient building where the Tartessos practiced animal slaughter, archaeologists have found human remains. This bizarre new discovery could reveal more about the culture of these ancient people. The Tartessos flourished 2,500 years ago. They lived in Spain from between the 9th and 5th centuries BC. They were sophisticated, had advanced technology, and were supposedly rich. They traded with the Phoenicians and the Greeks, and after 500 years, found themselves being invaded by Celtic tribes. This was likely what led to their downfall. The recently excavated building was burned down at the very end of their civilization. It was built with an advanced kind of cement, something even the Romans would have been envious of. The structure was some kind of sanctuary, and it contained the remains of 30 animal skeletons. Most of these skeletons were horses, and they appeared to have been sacrificed. They were locked inside the building as it was lit on fire, and they all burned alive. But it's the human bones that have gotten archaeologists' attention. Someone was lying dead on the floor of the building and had been incinerated by the fire. The person was found near a door, and he had a spearhead lying beside him. The excavation team believed he was a watcher, standing guard so that nobody interrupted the sacrifice. But then, somehow, he himself got trapped inside and was burned alive with the horses. Human teeth. When archaeologists found human teeth with holes drilled into them at the site of Çatalhöyük in Turkey, they weren't entirely sure what the teeth had been used for. They were 8,500 years old, left behind by Neolithic hunter-gatherers. In 2015, researchers identified the holes in the teeth as drill holes, then conducted microscopic and radiographic analysis. This confirmed what they had been thinking. The teeth were used as beads or pendants for somebody's necklace or bracelet. We were able to confirm this morbid theory because the drill used to punch a hole through the teeth left the same marks found on beads and animal bones also used as jewelry. Scott Haddow from the University of Copenhagen also said the teeth showed similar signs of wear as the other ornaments that Neolithic people wore. There is no disputing that these teeth were strung on a piece of jewelry, likely fashioned around some ancient person's neck. The final grisly fact about these teeth is that they had been taken from a mature person after death. Based on the tooth surfaces, whoever's mouth they came from died somewhere between 30 and 50 years old. Somebody had taken the teeth out of a corpse's mouth, then went through a lot of effort to string them into a necklace. I don't know, would you want to wear your ancestors' teeth? Or is that too morbid? Let me know in the comments below. Disturbing burial pit. Before England was the financial center of the world, it was a conglomeration of medieval towns and villages with primitive settlements scattered across the country. That was the way it was for over 10,000 years. Some of those medieval towns are still around today, like the deserted village near Malton. It's one of the best preserved medieval villages in Britain, and also the most terrifying. Archaeologists have been excavating the place for over 60 years, trying to get a full understanding of what life was like in the Middle Ages. The mysterious village was occupied for at least 600 years. The first houses were built around the 9th century, and the whole place was abandoned near the beginning of the 16th century. Today, there isn't much left except the foundations of houses scattered across the grassy hills. In the 1960s, researchers unearthed the most ghastly part of the entire village. They found a burial pit containing over 100 human bones. At least 10 people were buried in it, according to researcher Dr. Rathmel. It was a disturbing find because this was a Christian town before it was abandoned in the 1520s. There was a church with a cemetery attached. Most people in the village should have been buried alongside their loved ones. So what's the deal with the burial pit? The truth is that nobody really knows. There is speculation that perhaps the bones could have been older, maybe from Roman times, but carbon dating showed them to be medieval. This small English village of God-fearing residents, for some unknown reason, massacred 10 people, broke their bones apart, and buried them in a hole that they thought would never be found.
Creepy Egyptian mummies. A pair of photographs have been circling online that appear to show two very peculiar mummies. These mummified human remains, if they are human, look extraordinarily tiny. They look almost like baby mummies, except there is something wrong with their bodies. The very structure of their bodies doesn't exactly appear human. According to the source of the photographs, the mummies were originally discovered by Dr. Victor Lubeck, a retired professor from the University of Pennsylvania. He found the preserved Egyptian remains surrounded by unusual artifacts, things that you wouldn't typically expect to find in a tomb from ancient Egypt. The mummies were so creepy and the artifacts so bizarre that Egyptian authorities wanted to keep the whole thing a secret. Because, to be honest, the mummies look like tiny extraterrestrial beings. But the truth is that none of that is real at all. The photographs of the alleged alien mummies are in fact a pair of mummified baby girls found in the tomb of King Tutankhamun in 1922. The reason they look so much like aliens is because they were hardly more than fetuses when they were mummified. Researchers call them Mummy 317A and 317B, and believe they were probably the offspring of King Tutankhamun and his wife, Ankhesenamun.
The amber spider. 99 million years ago, a spider was crawling up a tree with her baby spiders. It was just another day in the prehistoric world. But then, the arachnids got stuck in a patch of sticky tree resin, and they've been stuck in it ever since. The tree resin hardened, and the spider and her babies were trapped, just like the mosquito from Jurassic Park. At first glance, it looks kind of terrifying. There is a small, 8-legged monster with huge fangs, and its glob of tiny underlings frozen in a piece of amber. For arachnophobes, this is freaky. But for researchers, they say the solidified piece of amber showcases the maternal care that spiders have been giving their young ones for millions of years. That was when the first spiders appeared on the planet, during the Carboniferous period. The mother spider, stuck in amber, discovered in Myanmar, was from the Lagano-Megopidae family, which is completely extinct. Spiders have been around for a very long time, and haven't really changed much since they first evolved. Thanks for watching! Which of these scary archaeological discoveries did you find the most fascinating? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!